We'll record it. All right, and then we'll have this posted. So good morning. My name is Dr. Bain, and I'm the guy in sociology right now. We're currently trying to fill an open position, and hopefully we'll have 2 folks here in the fall or the spring even. We do have a visiting professor right now in Dr. Puga, so we are fully staffed, and I'll tell you a little bit about our program and hopefully be able to answer any questions that you have. So we are certainly not anywhere near the largest major on campus, but we're a pretty healthy one for the size of this institution. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 majors right now. And I think we've shrunk a little bit since we lost our full-time position, not position person, the position still exists, but our person who was there kind of helping to bring people in. And so we're kind of rebuilding right now, but good solid program. And we have 2 tracks. So I'm going to share my screen for you right now and kind of show you what I've got up there. Let's see which ones are those. That's well, oh, I'll bet I know where they are. Let me go back over here for a second. Sorry about that. I go over here. I got to pull them up on my screen. There we go. So this will be a little awkward, but we'll get it done. So if I share that now, there we are. You should be able to see a degree plan up there. And this is the liberal arts degree plan. And this is one of the 2. The other one, which is the more popular plan, more students are on the criminal justice plan. We don't have a criminal justice major, but we have a track in the sociology program for criminal justice. And that's kind of my thing. And the other position here kind of feeds more into this liberal arts idea. They're not that different, but some students would prefer to focus a little bit more on the criminal justice aspect. And so we have that opportunity for them. The left side here looks just like all the other degree plans. The Gen Ed is the same for pretty much everybody. And down here, if you follow the sociology program, your social science and your Gen Ed is covered automatically by a couple of classes. So you don't have to worry about your social science and your Gen Ed. Over here on the program side of things, everybody in every program, every degree plan takes the intro to sociology class, and you take one of the good things about our program is this internship requirement. The independent study is really just for people who just can't make the internship work for some reason. But the internship is a really valuable experience. Students kind of put it off and they dread it a little bit, but almost universally, it's a great experience where they get out into the community, find a position, find some agency that will support them for a semester, and they go and they learn about the real genuine nuts and bolts of some line of work in this area, hopefully something they're really interested in or think they are. And then they find out a little bit more about how interested they really are in this. So that's a great experience, and we encourage you not to try to dodge that. It's best done junior, senior year, and it's best done in a semester where you kind of have a chunk in your schedule where you have enough time to get out and do these things. So again, you see the degree plan here. This is particular to the liberal arts here. The criminal justice we'll look at here in a minute. This one requires that you take the family and minorities. These 2 are also required in both plans. The survey research is a very important class. You see it's a 400 level, so we save it till later in your career, but it's where you learn how to collect, analyze, and study data. It's survey research is actually, I think the name of the class has been changed. It's a little more broad than that in terms of how we do social research, not just by surveys. But this is taught by Dr. Broughton over political science, and you learn the fundamentals of how to use some basic statistical methods to analyze social data. And the capstone is this is only offered in the fall, so you have to be strategic about that. Capstone is only offered in the spring, and that's the class that I have been teaching. It's a theory class. And theory is something it's a bit of a hard sell to students. They're a little resistant to it. But the longer I work and the longer I teach and the more I study, the more I am absolutely convinced that it is a crucial part of what we're doing here. And I try to teach it that way. I teach it in a way that tries to make it very real and accessible, and to have you understand that it's an essential part of the research process. In order to get good data, you have to have good theory. And then down here we have it's pretty flexible plan. Any kind of sociology electives that can plunk in here. Down here is the basic statistics class that we need students to take. It's offered as psych. A lot of what we do is cross-listed. That's taught by the psych department, but that gets your basic groundwork in statistics behind you. Another psych elective in this plan, a couple of geography classes. We encourage students to consider at least the GIS class, the Geographic Information Systems, computer data modeling and producing maps from data. And then some things that are pretty flexible. I'll work with you on whatever you want to plunk in here, and then some more political science here. And that's more or less the liberal arts degree plan. I don't know if I can get this thing to come up without, there it is. Can you all see that this is now criminal justice? I hope you can. Give me an indicator there. Gina? Yes, okay. So we can just toggle back and forth, and you can see that these are not much different, but there are some differences. This, of course, on the left side is the same. Over here, here's the intro to SOC, the capstone, the research methods. And here's where it's a little bit different. We require you to take American justice system, which is really the intro class to criminal justice. This is a class taught by an attorney. Criminal law and procedure is one class, and principles of criminal law is another class. You have to take one or the other of those. And a couple of upper division classes that we offer: juvenile justice, crime in American society. You have to take one of those. Again, here's that independent study internship thing. The electives here are a little more flexible. You can take CJ or SOC to fill those electives. Down here, pretty similar. There's the quant methods. There's a psych class we want you to take. There's another psych class, the drugs and behavior. Here's your geography. Here's some more political science. The political process is important to understand if we're going to understand how laws come into being and how we enforce them and resource them. So those are the degree plans, more or less, not more or less, that's what's available to you. And then one other document I'm going to share with you very briefly. I'm going to stop that share and come back in here and show you this. The spring schedule is not out yet, but this is our spring schedule for our program. So if you're thinking or wondering what's going to be available in the spring, you can write some of this down if you want to. It's not official yet, but just a couple of CJ classes: the intro class, the upper division crime class from the attorney, be offered on Tuesday nights. Here's 3 geography classes you can use. Here's the GIS class, the mapping class, political science, a couple of sections of the intro class there. You can get that taken care of if you haven't. Intro to SOC, women's studies, justice system classes cross-listed as SOC and CJ. Ethnography, social psych, again, those are cross-listed class from psychology and communication. This is one out of economics, and then the capstone class. And then the really odd thing about the program is that I will not be here in the spring. I will be back. I'm not retiring. I'm not leaving, but very, very fortunate that I will get to teach at the Harlexton program in England for the spring semester. Starting to get pretty excited about that. It looks like it might actually be real and happening. I was a little skeptical at first, but so we'll have these classes staffed. We're not exactly sure. We're working on that right now. And that's more or less what I have to say about that. So what do you have to say about that?
No, I don't have any questions.
I know you do. I know that's just not true. You have a script. Want me to show?
I lost it.
Well, let me fix that for you since you lost your script. There's your script. That's the things you were supposed to bring with you. You're supposed to prepare for this. You students, you're all the same. You don't know what preparing for a meeting or a class means. You just show up. Well, that's fine. That's what most of us do, frankly, for most meetings. But to the extent that you do prepare, you probably get more out of a class or a meeting. You have some plans and some issues and some agenda of your own. Otherwise, you're just there sort of getting blown around by somebody else's agenda. Any of those questions seem like they might be valuable or worthy or useful to you?
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
So what would a common internship be? Because you were talking about how the independent study or the internship thing. So what would be something common that's
something that is commonly done? We have pretty good working relationships with the juvenile probation office. They work with us regularly. Adult probation has worked with us very regularly. Child Protective Services works with us regularly. I encourage students, to consider doing internships during the summer if they're going to be back in their hometown and they have someone there that will work with them. The thing that's surprising to students is that I put this is on them. I don't have internships for you. You have to go off into your community or our community and kind of sell yourself to these agencies and make them believe that they want to work with you. And they do. Sometimes they just can't. And sometimes they're really welcoming because they like to have you in there and they like to have you learning what their jobs are about. A lot of my hookups, a lot of my connections are with the criminal justice system. We've had students work with the police department, with the Department of Public Safety, the state police. That's a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy. We have a student right now doing that. I got 2 interns. The other one is with Child Protective Services right now. So that's who's working out there in the field at this point in time. We've had students work with summer youth programs. But you think about sociology and how it leads into oftentimes work in social work and then the criminal justice field. Anything you can imagine. We've had students work with the county attorneys, with victim services. That's a place that people forget is a field where you're working with people who have been hurt, and there are services for them. And so that's an opportunity to branch out in terms of what it means to work in criminal justice. Does that answer your question, Gino, more or less?
Yes, sir.
How about you, Gabriella? I know I'm going to have to get into the chat here. Let me get over there and see if I can do that. We can't do that while I'm sharing, I suppose. This is so complicated. Yeah. Let me stop the share for a second. See there. What career opportunities are available for students who graduate with this major? Okay, awesome question. The standard question is, what are you going to do with that if you major in sociology? And you're not going to be a sociologist with your bachelor's degree. That's for graduate studies. We do send students to graduate school. We send students to law school. But in terms of going out into the field from here, working in your field, the big secret about school is it doesn't really matter what you major in. A lot of jobs just want to see that you've got that perseverance and that intellect to do college level work, and then they will train you to do the job. So if you want to go into business or you want to go into sales or management or any kind of a service industry, you're going to be able to build on the things that we teach you. We teach you how to take in information and use it and manage it and process it. And that's a skill that every job requires. But more specifically, realistically, our students tend to go into social work and criminal justice. They go into police academies, they go into child services, youth services, probation, parole. That's where our students have been working in the field. And then, a surprising to me number go into law school as well, sometimes immediately I've got a student who surprised me tremendously, didn't seem the type at all, became a Houston police officer and has been there about 6 or 7 years. And I believe this fall will start his law school program. So it's a good foundation to build on. It's a good general foundation. It's not a technical education. Again, we're not like the accounting program that's going to teach you how to be an accountant. We can't teach you how to be a sociologist, but we can sure send you into a graduate program that will, if that's your interest or desire. So there's a couple of questions answered. What else can I do for you this morning? Are you two seriously thinking about sociology majors? Do I know you, Gabriella? Have we met? And I'm sorry if we haven't, I've forgotten, but your name is not quite, no, sir. Okay, that makes me feel a little better because I'd feel bad if we forgot your name. Gino, I know you're in my class right now. I'd love to have you in the program, but I'm sure you've got other things you're thinking about as well. So if there's anything else I can do along the way to kind of support your thinking or answer any questions, be sure and let me know. We sure love to have you.
Sure.
Anything else? I see we've got someone has shown up for the 9:25 session, so I think it's probably about time for you guys to get ready. But if you have any last questions, we can sure answer them, or we can shut this one down and get ready for the next one.
I think I'm all good.
Okay. Well, nice having you this morning. See you down the road. Hello, Carlos.
Good morning.
My two students from the first session were both eating breakfast and didn't want to make me watch that. What's your reason? Are you just too gorgeous to have your camera on? It's okay if you don't. I'm just.
Oh no, I'm just sitting in the hall. I just usually have my camera off.
Okay, that's just your style. That's fine.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what session did you go to first this morning?
Psychology.
Psychology. Okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
with the social sciences in general?
Well, my plan was I'm gonna major in psych and minor in social.
Very good. What do you want to do with that?
An LSSP.
Okay, good. That's a good 1-2 punch for that. Have you had any sociology yet?
Well, I actually came into TOU with an associate's, so I touched base on everything.
Nice. Okay, so we may not get to see much of you if you already came in. You may already have your minor.
Well, actually, I've taken the intro to sociology, and I think that was about it. So I still have to get like the 200, 300, because I just got my
Okay,
basics
well,
out the way.
yeah, because you need 18 hours for the minor, so that's a fair amount of work left to do on that. Good. Okay. We're just going to kind of sit here awkwardly for a couple more minutes so we don't sort of go off. But if you have any specific questions for me, we can chat about that. Otherwise, we'll wait till 9:25 and see who else shows up, and then I'll give you the sort of the grand tour of
So
yeah.
with me minoring in social, would it make my resume or application look better to be an LSSP, or would I need something
I
else?
think so. This is a licensed professional counselor.
School psychologist, so in a sense, yes.
School psychology. Yeah, I can tell you, I have a student who still stays in touch with me. She's over in Mississippi somewhere, and she is a school psychologist counselor. I want to say she was a social major. She might have been a psych major, but she went to graduate school to get her license. St. Mary's, maybe somewhere over in San Antonio. But yes, sociology, psychology, they're very much dovetail disciplines. They're looking at they're studying the same phenomena, just slightly different tools and perspectives. But I think it gives you a better better handle on what you're trying to do with these kids. Psychology is more about what's going on in their heads, and sociology is about how that stuff got into their heads from the world that they live in. What were the processes in their environment? And of course, then the social psychology class is kind of that recognition of that blend. So the two disciplines are closely related. Again, the perspectives are different, and the tools, techniques, and theories and assumptions are different, but both very useful. And I think they fit well together, and they kind of filled in gaps. And my master's program was a sociology program, and then my minor in that program was psychology. So it's a common thing to put those two together. It makes sense.
Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna butcher your name, Mr. Joppa. I assume you're Mr. or it could be Ms. I don't know. Kasara, help me out, please.
Hello,
Hi. How do you pronounce your first name?
it's Kasara.
Kasara. Okay, well, welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
the first brave soul to turn on their camera this morning. That's
Oh,
nice to see.
really?
It's
I'm
nice to see. It's nice to see a face. I appreciate it. So, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I've still got a couple of minutes until the session is scheduled to start, so we'll wait so we don't do things twice. But if you have any initial kind of questions or concerns, where were you in your first session? Sarah?
Psychology.
Psychology as well. So was Carlos. Okay, you heard our conversations a little bit there. We got another one joining us here. You are officially my largest session now. First session just had two. So, and there's another. Oh boy. Hello, Brooke. How are you? Can you hear me? You're smiling. Can you hear me? You're nodding. Okay, good. And I see Fernanda is out there with her camera off, which is fine. Close that. There we go. I got another minute to go, but we'll wait and see. Where were you first session, Brooke? What'd you go to for your first session?
Psychology.
Psychology as well. All right. And, Fernanda, how about you? Where were you first session?
Biology.
Biology. Okay, you're the outlier here. Everybody else is from psych. Okay. So I got 9:25, so just kind of ease into my little bit of the presentation here. Hopefully you'll have some questions to kind of fill out the time. Glad you're here. Welcome. My name is Dr. Boehm, and I am the part of the sociology program. We currently have a visiting professor filling our other position, and we're currently searching for someone, hopefully, who will join us in January to fill that position that was vacated a couple of years ago now by Dr. Castro when she left to take a position at Rutgers. So we miss her, but we're hopeful that we know Dr. Pugo is doing a good job, and we're hope that we'll get someone here on a full-time permanent basis soon. Sociology has, what I'm gonna do here is share my screen. Get the right screen up, there it is. And I think what I can do there is kind of toggle back and forth, right? Okay, so you all should see a couple of degree plans that I'm toggling from. Is that what you're seeing out there on your screen? Somebody give me a little nod. Yeah, good. Okay. So we have two degree plans, two tracks. This is the liberal arts track, and then we have the criminal justice track. We got someone else who just showed up. Let me just give them a minute. Serena. Serena, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we're just starting, so welcome. You haven't missed a thing. I'm just going over the two degree plans. Here are the criminal justice and the liberal arts. we've got about 30 majors in the program. We've shrunk a little bit, and I think partly due because of the somewhat instability in the other program, in the other position. We're working on that, and I think again, hope to get that all squared away soon. But the bulk of our students are on the criminal justice plan. So I'm going to go over that first. It's not that it's better or it's just different. I will admit that it's probably the one I work with most. My background is sociology and criminal justice. So this is where I tend to focus, and most of our students do. And I think it has that pragmatic aspect in that people understand what you're going to do with that, even though the liberal arts program is also equally useful. So over here on the left is the Gen Ed, which is the same pretty much for everybody. So we're not going to spend much time on that. Just note that your social science requirement gets fulfilled automatically if you go on the sociology major. That requires you to get this done. So that just plunks in there without any you needed to make any extra plans or concerns about that. Over here on the program side of it, everybody in every plan takes intro to sociology. It is a sociology degree. Again, it's not a criminal justice major, it's a soc major with that a criminal justice specialization. The other thing the two tracks have in common are the survey research. We do a lot of our work with cross-listing. And this is taught by our political science colleague, Dr. Broughton. And this teaches you how to work with and manage and analyze data, which is always an important thing, becoming more important every day as the world seems to be becoming more data driven. So we think that's a pretty important thing for you to understand and learn. And then our capstone is the theory class, which I teach in the spring. And this has to be managed well by your advisor and the students because the research class is only offered in the fall. The capstone is only offered in the spring. Down here for the criminal justice track, we have you take the American Justice System, which is our intro class to criminal justice. These two classes are offered consecutively, one in the fall, one in the spring. You have to take one or the other. This is taught by a practicing attorney. So you kind of get the attorney point of view here, which is an important aspect of what we're doing. Down here is an upper division criminal justice class that I usually wind up teaching. Juvenile justice, I'm teaching that one right now. And then the crime in American society, a more general crime class. And then both of our tracks have this internship requirement. The independent study is really only for people who just can't work an internship into their program. The internship is really an important and valuable experience where students have to go off and we guide them. We tell them about where these things have been generally available in the past. But you go and find an agency or a business or or someone out in the community who works in the field, who works with you, and you go and work with them on their job site for the semester. 225 clock hours. There's a contract that you sign, but it becomes a very valuable experience. It helps to build your professional network. It gives you some real world exposure to how things are done instead of being just told by someone else or believing what you see on TV. So we're really concentrated. We think that's a really important thing to do your junior or senior year. We also encourage students to think about trying to get that done in the summertime, but sometimes it's a little more flexible. And sometimes they have connections back in their hometown and they're able to do that. If it all works out, they set up the system so that everybody feels like we're all on the same page and you're having a good experience. Down here, we've got some electives. They can be from sociology or criminal justice, and that's pretty easy to get done. Down here with the psychology, the drugs and behavior, that's an important part of understanding criminal behaviors. Quant methods is the basic research methods class that we ask all of our students to take. Abnormal psych. Geography is a part of our department, and we've got a couple of those electives in there. We generally try to get students into the GIS class, the Geographic Information Systems, where they learn how to manage data with maps. Very important and valuable skill. And the political science is an important part of what we do also in a couple of these classes down here. are really kind of predetermined by the prereqs. They want you to take the intro to psychology before you take the drugs of behavior, and you have to take intro or the poli-sci 1 before you take poli-sci 2. So it's kind of sort of like there's hidden requirements in the degree plan. Looking over here on the liberal arts plan, it's pretty similar. This, of course, is all the same. Intro to psych, and then you can shift a little more generally social problems or social psychology, the family, minorities. So if you were determined you wanted to go into child protective services or family services and social work, this might be a better track for you where you get more exposed to that sort of material. Of course, you can take this class and plunk it down in here into your electives if you're on the CJ track. So both tracks are pretty flexible and adaptive for whatever your interests happen to be. There's the internship. There's the research, the capstone. Those are all the same. Down here, the quant methods, the geography electives, the poli-sci. So pretty much similar here. The family minorities here is the one major shift. And then over here, the criminal justice classes that we require. That's the main differences there, really. The other document I want to share with you briefly, understand that this is not official yet, but I can give you some idea of what we are going to have on the schedule this fall. I know that's pretty small, not this fall, this spring. But there's the justice system, a couple of CJ classes, one of the classes with the attorney, again, be offered at night. Geography, there's that GIS class with the lab, a couple of other geography classes to consider. Here's your political science that's being offered. And then the social, we got 3 sections of intro, women's studies, ethnography being cross-listed as communication, social psych is psychology. This is a good class. Upper division probably wouldn't want this unless you've got some miles behind you and are prepared for this economics class that Dr. Birch teaches over in economics, and then the capstone class. And then the other oddball thing about this spring is that I will actually not be here this spring. I'm not leaving, I'm not retiring, but I am very pleased and honored and privileged to get to go to England to the Harlexton Study Abroad program. And I'll be teaching sociology and English in the spring, in English too, in England in the spring. So I'll be back in the fall. And again, we hope to have a full-time person here. We will have a full-time person here in the spring. I'm not sure who it's going to be yet, but spring will be a different time, and then we'll be back to full strength in the fall. So that's kind of what I know, and I'd like to open it up to any questions, concerns, issues that you'd like to have addressed this morning. And I know you have a script, so I know you have some questions, unless you lost them like everybody did in my first session. I have them here. I can pull them up if that would be helpful. But I'd rather just kind of chat with you a little bit about any questions or concerns you might have. So I'll open up the floor. And I'll call you by name if I have to. Because you're supposed to have questions, right? I'm not hearing anything. So I'm just going to start up in the upper left-hand corner of my screen and say, Brooke, what are your questions? Why are you here for this session? What interests you about sociology? What questions might you have about it?
I'm looking for the questions right now, but this was the closest, like this is what a lot of people would minor in or vice versa if they're majoring in psychology, which is my current major.
That's right. So let me ask you, what do you want to do with that?
I want to go into the clinical aspect of it. Some sort of psychiatry would be what I'd be interested in.
Right. Well, I was talking to, I think it was Carlos. I can't see face. I have hard enough trouble with names and faces, and when I can't see both. Anyway, the idea that psychology, sociology, closely related, we really are oftentimes studying the same thing. The perspectives are a little different. The tools are a little different. And I describe it as psychologists want to know what's going on in your head, and sociologists want to know how that got into your head. What is it about your social world activities, your environment that sort of has shaped you into who you are? And then psychology is also interested in that, but they're kind of more about that mental process, about how you deal with that person that you are. So a very good 1-2 punch. I think you get a good, fills in some gaps. As I was saying, in my master's program, I was a Soc major and a psychology minor. So it's a pretty common thing for those two things to kind of marry and support each other. I don't think of them as competitors. I think of them as sort of hand and glove or dovetails, or however you want to think about it. But I think it makes sense. It's a good fit. Who was my biologist? Was that you, Cassara? No, was that Serena?
No, it was me,
It was
Fernanda.
Fernanda. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Okay, what as a biologist, what brings you to the sociology section here?
I've always been a little bit interested in criminal justice.
Okay,
I lean more towards the medical field,
sure.
but I'm very interested in psychology and sociology because they both focus on why the mind works that way, like what you surround yourself with. It's just interesting to me.
Right. And as the medical field, you know, unless you go into psychiatry, you're usually more interested in the body. And yet, you know, the connections between how your body functions, how well it functions, and what your social circumstances are, that's very important. And I think the medical field is very interested, and much more interested these days than it used to be. And how do we keep people well? It's great to treat sick people, sure, and let's save lives, but how about we get out ahead of that curve and think about the social circumstances that we can manage more carefully as we promote wellness, instead of just that medical model of treating sick people. So I think that's a valuable way to look at it. Another thing from your perspective is the idea that you know, we offer a class in the fall. We're able to give a class in crime scene investigation from the Seguin forensics evidence person. And her background was not criminal justice at all. Her background was natural science, which is what forensics and DNA and evidence is all about. You gather it, and then you're looking at the chemicals, the biological aspects, the physical, the blood spatter, or whatever it happens to be. So there are, you know, one of my goals in the intro to CJ class, the American justice system, is to open up people's minds as to what it means to work in the criminal justice field. It's so much more than just cops and robbers. So the degree to which biology and the natural sciences play a role in that, that's crucial to understand, a valuable contribution. And I think the two can contribute to each other and get us a better understanding, which is what it's all about anyway. All right. Sarah, question? I'm biased in favor of people whose faces I could see, I'll be honest with you.
Gotcha. I don't think I really have a question. I'm looking at the list.
Yes.
So if I like minored in sociology and majored in psychology, how would that be like useful, like for me?
What field are you thinking about going into?
I want to be like a psychologist,
Like a clinic, like a
like a
clinical psychologist?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Again, the tools we use are different. The perspectives we use are different. But when you're dealing with people suffering from mental health issues, it'd be nice to have a better understanding of the world in which they live and how that impacts them. I mean, our lifestyle can make us sick. It can make us physically sick. It can make us mentally sick. And to this extent that we understand how our social environment impacts us in those negative ways, and then, you know, maybe we respond to it using the tools that we have. But sometimes we can change our social environment, and sometimes we can't. And we have to change the way you think about it if you can't change the way it is. So I think it gives you tools to understand, to help your patients and your clients get a grip. Oftentimes it's just a matter of rethinking their situation from another perspective. They may not be able to do too much about it, but they can change the way they think about it. And that's part of cognitive therapy. So yeah, I think sociology has something to contribute to that. How about you, Serena? I think you're the only one I haven't really talked with. Carlos and I were talking a little bit before we all got here, but what's your interest in all of this? I see you've got kinesiology beside your name. Maybe.
Well, they kind of basically already asked majority of the questions that I was curious about. So I really don't have any questions.
Okay. Carlos, anything else from what I said that provoked anything?
So since there's 2 degree plans, could I minor in either or do you think I should minor in the liberal art one?
Well, you don't minor in it. The minor is, let me pull up my catalog here, is not on a degree plan. It's in the catalog. And I'll just tell you what it says. The social minor, where is it? There it is. 18 semester hours in sociology to include, oh, but you could minor in criminal justice. That was your point. I get you. Yeah. So which one? So you can minor in sociology or criminal justice. They're basically, every minor is the same. It's 18 hours, some mix of upper and lower division, always includes the intro class. I guess my advice to would be kind of make up your mind soon so that you can that you need and you're not scrambling your last semester to fulfill the minor requirements or working on substitutions. So as far as which one is better, I don't think there's an answer to that. I think there's which one is more interesting to you. Better is the one that gets you excited about going to class more. Which one do you want? Because at the end of the day, I think they're all applicable to whatever field you go into, whether it's clinical psychology or social work. Criminal justice is a lot about, it's nuts and bolts of how that system works, but it's also about the more general idea of deviance and strain from social norms and expectations. And sometimes that can be healthy. It can be mentally unhealthy to always try to be perfectly normal and do what everyone expects and wants you to do. That could be somewhat crushing. And so to the degree that deviance is a little bit healthy, I worry about someone if they tell me they never committed a crime in their life, and I would say, well, did you ever have any fun? We think crime is bad, and it is, generally speaking, but sometimes laws are bad. Sometimes laws don't make sense. And so the idea that I think the way we teach criminal justice here is we certainly don't want to see the streets running with blood, but neither do we want to see the streets running with cops arresting everybody for every minor violation. So that broader view of what it means, criminal justice, fairness, equity, who's being treated how, are we all getting a fair shake? Or how are we using, this costs money. As a taxpayer, do I think I'm getting good value for my criminal justice dollar? So our program is very much not a cops and robbers program. It's very much a philosophical, ethical, thinking big picture type of things. We do look at police tactics. We look at all the, how the courts run, how the correction system runs, but in the background are all of these larger questions about fairness, ethics, morality, budgets, taxes. So we're looking much more systemically, generally speaking, at criminal justice. So it's whatever appeals to you. Get in, get your feet wet, try it, and if it doesn't feel good, then try something else. That's about all I can tell you about it. I can't tell you what your path should be. Something you discover. What else can I do for you all this morning?
And that's all I had.
Y'all have a good semester. Halfway through. Caught your second wind yet? You feel like I did on Monday? It's like, it was hard to get by. I had a hard time on Monday. It was like, oh man, I lost my momentum. I got to, I'm kind of back in the groove today, but well, I was not 100% in my class on Monday. I'll just tell you, and they knew it and I knew it and they felt it. And I think we all felt the same. It's like, okay, but here we go. All right, finish strong. We're halfway there. Turkey Day is coming, so get her done. All right, folks. Enjoyed it. If you have any questions, anytime, pop in, email me. Hope to see you in class someday.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.